Common name for this is weeping pea shrub. Extremely hardy plants, zone 3 to zone 8. I've also seen them listed as cold hardy as zone 2. Both of these are weepers, so what you get height-wise, it depends upon what you train them to do, but typically they're in that 5 to 6 foot high and anywhere from 3 to 6 foot wide. They do tolerate a wide variety of soils as long as it's well drained. They are very drought tolerant. If you put them in a wet soil condition, they will not survive. Eventually they're going to die. Best time of year for this plant is in the spring. If you look at the picture there on the right, you can see the flowers. Main reason why this is called a pea shrub, the flowers themselves look more a pea shape as, on the flowers. Both plants are yellow. If you go to the next one, Walker's is more of a vine leaf. You can see it here in this picture. It's more of a thread leaf plant. Basically, they're the same plant, it's just one's going to have this fine thread leaf appearance versus the other coarser leaf. So both of them are nice for individual displays when they're in full bloom with that bright yellow. It gives you a nice specimen looking plant. Put gallium in, you go down to the lower left picture there, you can see this is what they're looking like right now. This is the best time of year for gallium. It's a spring blooming plant, so they're probably about 2 weeks away before you see them in full color. We, in the past, have put them in 3B, which gets you about 2 weeks ahead. We seem to be a little bit further ahead than what we need to be with those plants, so we stopped putting them inside because what they do outside seems to work just fine. This gives you a nice carpet of white. They're only going to be 6 to 12 inches high. They will spread. You can see up there, I think they're listed at 1.5 feet. Common name on this is sweet woodruff. The other claim to fame with this plant is if it does get a little bit too tall, you can just go in and mow it. It will smell like freshly cut hay, so that's one of the other traits with this plant. But it's a good ground cover for shade, likes well drained conditions. Prairie blues grass, this is little blue stem. If you remember last week we talked about big blue stem, so this is going to be a shorter variety. You can see what the ones look like here. If you scroll back up, you can see what they look like when they get a little bit more sun. Ours just got uncovered, so they're going to have a little bit of the green cast to them. This is going to get 1.5 feet without the flower, and it's going to be around 3 foot with the flower plume that you get with the grass. That's going to appear in early fall. These do prefer a dry, well-drained area. They can tolerate drought, but it gives you a good bluegrass throughout the course of the summer. The other thing with this one is it does have red colorations in the fall, so keep that in mind. It's giving you a little bit of full season display of different things. And this is an American Beauties program. One of the other grasses we have is a prairie drop seed. Heterolopulus is in the Latin part of it. This is good for naturalizing. It's a drought-tolerant plant. You can find it on hillsides and etc. It's good for borders. It is a little bit shorter. It does give you a golden yellow cast in the fall. So there again, it gives you some fall color as well. But this has just been a good tough grass as far as putting it out and giving it a good display. I put the 2 heucheras in from the American Beauties. Bronze Wave, you can see the pictures here. The Willoway picture is also late in the year. So those plants have gotten a little bit more green to them. The picture on the far right is going to give you a little better idea what it looks like when it first comes out in the spring. It's got more of that bronzy cast to it. Both these heucheras are extremely hardy, zone 3 to zone 8. They do a real good job for us as far as overwintering. I would put them in the same class as Palace Purple as far as survivability. Like all heucheras, they do prefer a moist environment, but it needs to be well drained. Your soil needs to also have a fair amount of humus in it. But nice display of flowers on this one as well. Common name for heuchera is coral bells. Picture here is from obviously a current picture. The coloration will get a little bit better once it gets a little more sun on it. These plants are, like I said, it's similar to Dale Strain and Bronze Wave are pretty similar. both extremely tough plants. It's part of the reason why they were selected for American Beauties. This one's about 18 by 18. Soil conditions, climatic, and all that's going to be about the same. This gives you that nice purple veining in the leaf, so it kind of sticks out. Remember, all heuchera really prefer to be in the shade. Don't put them in the sun. One of the other ads for last year was Hydrangea Invincible Spirit 2. So far, it's a lot more upright plant. It's going to give itself as a better presentation. You can see that in the picture. In the landscape there, I would put those plants at mature height, which would be 3 to 4 foot high. The lower left picture is what they currently look like in the hoop house. One of the things to remember on Invincible Spirit and all Annabelle type hydrangeas, which would be incredible, Annabelle, etc. We do trim these all the way back to the ground and reflush them up. The existing old stocks that are in there, you may get some breaks, but they're so sporadic. And once they break off of that, then the plant has a tendency to split open. So you're better off trimming these down to the ground. They recommend doing that also once they're in the landscape. That's going to give you a better presentation overall. This plant has a little bit darker, more of a reddish pink than most. This is one of the things that they were looking at. Annabelle, as you know, is a white, so they really wanted to come up with that pink, and these do a pretty good job with that as well. The other thing, for those of you that were here when we had Invincible Spirit, for every one of these that's sold on Invincible Spirit 2, just like Invincible Spirit, there will be $1 donated from Spring Meadow to breast cancer research. That's built into when you grow these plants in the royalties and whatnot. That's where that money would be coming from. So that's going to give you, it's a little bit higher dollar plant, but this will be a good selling point also when you're, discussing that with your customers.
I think that's your last
Like
one.
most of these Annabelle types, Invincible Spirit, moist, well-drained condition, they probably will live in a clay soil, but there again, you're going to have to supplement the soil a little bit, make sure it's well-drained. They do not like wet crowns over the winter.
Have seen there's some advertisement out there, Little Missy, the smart aleck little schoolgirl. So I think the advertisement's kind of funny, but the thing we really like about it is it's doing very well in the trials for boxwood blight resistance. So it's a nice compact grower that also lends itself very well to being very adaptable out there in the landscape. It also does very well for disease resistant, or not disease resistant, we've already talked about that, but deer resistant. So that can be another win for this plant also. So it's got a lot going for it. So go ahead and see what you can do with that one. Next, we have grass strictus. So we're flipping over there. You can see this time of year, we were just able to get the white plastic off of them. So it's going to take another week or so before we start seeing the banding show up. But as the spring progresses here, we'll start getting that banding in there. It's kind of a unique type of banding. It's kind of like a speckled type of banding in there, which really is kind of cool about the plant. One thing you got to watch with most grass, especially when they're in the container settings, and you're doing a lot of like overhead watering, you can get rust in them. So it's good to, just as a note out there, to try to keep the foliage as dry as you can. Directed watering, especially, if you can do that at the garden center level, try to morning water only, keep the foliage dry as much as possible, directed watering on the pots. Some people think they're doing the grass a favor by just kind of flinging water all over the grass. You're really not doing the grass any kind of favors by doing that. Just soak the pot really well and keep the foliage dry. So that's always a good note on all grass. But next, we got Physocarpa Amber Jubilee. Really like this one. It's kind of got kind of a multicolor. We stack this one up against, and I put that on there, Coppertina. We like this one a lot better. Some people are still trying to use Coppertina. We don't like Coppertina because it gets powdery mildew, where Amber Jubilee is extremely resistant to powdery mildew. And as a matter of fact, I've never seen powdery mildew on Amber Jubilee. So that's why we've stuck with this one over Coppertina. So that's something to always push and talk about out there. This one's in the first edition program. Very tough plant. Can really go up there as far as your zones. You can feel very comfortable shipping this anywhere where we sell plants, and it'll give you that just range of colors there. Great sizing on this plant. We're pushing 24-inch there. Next, we got Spirea Big Bang. We wanted to put this one in there. Spirea aren't going to really be blooming for a while, but you can see here from the photo, we got a great contrast going on right now. You got the white pot. I don't like talking about pots that much, but you got the white pot and you got this great orange-red color coming out, and it's really striking from a distance. So this would be great to get out there, get in a garden center, and talk about this a little bit, because garden centers bring this in. This would really catch somebody's eye from a distance and get them to walk towards it because of that color difference. It really you really notice it in the nursery. It really draws you in. This time of year when there's not a lot of color out there, in the woody end of things. It really gets you to walk up and notice it and see it. Great looking plants. We really love the Double Play series because of great resistance for black spot. They tend to rebloom very well, very low maintenance. Just a great series of Spirea, great selection of plants. So next is Syringa Tiny Dancer. With the lilacs, and a lot of them we held, but lilacs in general, we suggest, and we do it here, that's why some of the varieties we hold, we spray them with copper. They get a disease called Pseudomonas in the spring, so we apply several coatings of copper, and I would suggest that you keep talking about that. That's very important note to do. Continue to do that. Protect them from frost. Frost will trigger the Pseudomonas disease. Once we get past the frost, it's not such a big deal. Pseudomonas typically won't kill the plant, but it can distort the new growth. It could kill a branch on the plant and possibly make the plant non-saleable for a short period of time. Obviously, during the bloom time, that's not going to do anybody any good. And then also keep the foliage dry, especially on those cold, wet nights. That's when you can have problems with lilacs. So, they do require a little bit of protection out there to keep those things looking really good. But great looking crop. And we like Tiny Dancer because it's compact. It has a better compact shape, great looking flower, and very fragrant. So nice selection.